Good evening and welcome to Toronto. My name is Rob Snook. Thrilled to be joined by National Academy Director and Head Coach Mike Frogley. Welcome to the Wheelchair Basketball Canada National Training Centre here at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre, the featured game between Team Canada and Team Netherlands. Thanks for joining us here for this women's exhibition match presented by Wheelchair Basketball Canada.
Both teams are well underway on the road to Tokyo in the 2020 Paralympic Games. For Canada, the men's and women's teams are gearing up for their Paralympic qualifier at the 2019 Para-Pan American Games in Lima, Peru this August. There, the Canadian women will aim for a top 2 finish in order to punch their ticket to Tokyo in the 2020 Paralympics. All week, Canada has been hosting this Dutch women's team. This is the 4th game in the series this week.
And Mike, let's take a look at the lineups for tonight's featured game, Team Canada against Team Netherlands. And what are we going to see from the Canadian roster? And there you see it.
So there are a couple of players to watch for people out there. First, Erin Young, number 6 from Canada. Absolutely great shooter from outside. And she's going to be, a lot of our offense starts and goes through her. And so getting her going early will be really key. Well, she'll be exciting to watch because in every game she plays, she hits some big shots. Rosalie Lalande, an absolute picking machine. She generates a lot of offense for other players getting to the hoop because of her ability to pick and get people open. And if the Dutch give Cindy Willett space to move, we're going to see her score some points today as well.
And then on the Dutch side of things, you've got the reigning world champions, the reigning European champions, and by many people's estimation, the favorites for Tokyo next year, although lots has to happen between now and then.
There's certainly a lot left to happen between now and then, but the Dutch they've been a really strong team now for a number of years. They've missed a couple of opportunities to finish first, but they're definitely the favorite going in. Some players to watch. Bo Kramer, number 9 for the Dutch. Great young player who just gets better every single day. And then some players that you don't always see. Yetsko Visser, number 6. She creates a lot for the Dutch team off ball. Gets a lot of the players open and hits some big shots when their big players can't get in. And then lastly, Mariska Beyer, number 15 for the Dutch. She's their power inside presence.
So Beyer and Visser, both All-Stars last year at the World Championships, carrying the Dutch team to a gold medal. And certainly noticeable throughout that whole tournament was Bo Kramer and all the work that she's done, a triple-double in one of the games as well. Now coming to center court for the ceremonial tip-off is the Member of Provincial Parliament for Scarbourough Rouge Park, Mr. Vijay Thanagalsalam, joined by the 2 captains, or at least the co-captain for Team Canada, Erin Young, and one of the captains for the Dutch side, Karina de Roy. So both of these teams, Mike, really using this as an important part of their preparations for important events coming up later this summer. And it'll be interesting to see how this 4th game already, they know each other well, as we have that ceremonial tip that the Dutch obviously take. I don't know how much we're going to rely on that information we've just learned from the ceremonial tip-off, other than that the 2 teams get along fairly well. The team from Canada is wearing red jerseys. The Dutch in their whites will be back for tip-off right around the corner.
If you laugh, laugh. If you dance, dance. Own it. If you run, run. If you drive, drive. Further. Higher. There's more out there. The all-new RAV4. Together, so much more.
Back at the Pan Am Sports Centre in Toronto, Rob Snook alongside Mike Frogley. And here we go, this international friendly between Canada and the Netherlands. The Canadians begin with the ball. Cindy Willett, point guard for the Canadian team, tosses across to Erin Young, who led Canada in scoring last year at the World Championships and is expected to do so in many games. Underneath for Tamara Steves in Canada starts with the first bucket, Mike.
So great cross pick by Tamara Steves. And that's something that we've got to look for as part of one of the keys to the game.
Yeah, the keys to the game as the Dutch sink their first basket. Keys to the game brought to you by G.H. Law's Keys to Victory. And Mike, for you, what does the Canadian team need to do?
So first thing, we've got to get the space that we need to on offense. That means we've got to get low enough and wide enough. We didn't quite get low enough in the last possession, but we definitely got wide enough, and we saw the cross pick that gave us the opportunity to go into the basket. And then attacking backs and getting complementary reads. We always want to attack the back of the defenders. That's where their weakness is in wheelchair basketball. And on the defensive side, it's making contact with the Dutch players and forcing them wide so we don't give up the edge of the key. And then identifying their threats, particularly how they attack high.
Aaron Young with the 3 ball to give Canada the 5-2 lead early on. Young led all scorers in 3-point shots last year at the World Championships.
Really like the Canadian team coming out and putting pressure up court. That's one of the ways to get the Dutch wide enough and if they make contact.
So Kramer with the bucket, the nice pass from Yetsko Visser. And the Dutch team hangs in there.
So watch the Canadian players, the first 2 down, and see how deep they can get on offense and how wide. And we'll see the gaps open up that'll create scoring opportunities. And there's that cut down the middle off a pick by Rosalie Lalande.
Huisson Lai's shot just rolls out. And back come the Dutch with Visser, being guarded by Hoilat. Comes back to Visser. And we've got an offensive foul on the Dutch, so Canada's going to get the ball back.
It looks actually like it's a violation. The Dutch player went out of bounds to gain advantage, so they're calling a violation and a warning to the Dutch team, I believe.
Dutch coach is Gert Jan van der Linden. Great Dutch player back in his time. And Mike, you were telling me he has background not only in wheelchair basketball, but in swimming as well.
Yeah, he won a Paralympic gold medal in swimming in 1980, I believe, and he's got a gold medal with wheelchair basketball from 1992. So he's a decorated athlete as well as one of the best coaches in the world.
Lalande and Steves pass over to Young. Long 2-pointer and up and over. So early stages, opening quarter. Canada with a single-point lead. De Roy for the Netherlands.
So you can see we're kind of giving up the Canadians are giving up the edge of the key, and the Dutch can shoot over top of us there, and there we see Kramer post us up. So we've got to make contact earlier and force them wider if we're going to take away those high-quality shots for the Dutch.
Aaron Young looking to set up for a shot. Now finds Ouellet. Cindy Ouellet, was on the World Championship team for Canada in 2014, the team that won gold. And I think it was a foul on Visser.
So it's a good sign early that we're seeing the Canadians getting some of these cross picks up high. It means that we're reading the complementary reads and attacking backs, and that's one of the keys to the game. That's what's going to get us to the rim and get us high-quality shots.
Rosalie Lalande ties the game. And you're mentioning Rosalie. She's a real student of the game, isn't she? And she's, the way she plays, you don't necessarily see it from the at the game sheet at the end of the box score, but you see it if you're watching.
Yeah, she's one of those players that does the things that don't show up in box scores but are critical to victories.
So Kramer with another bucket for the Netherlands. If left unguarded under the basket, she is dangerous.
Now, one of the things that's happening with our up-court pressure, with the Canadians' up-court pressure, is the Dutch are getting off-ball picks, and that's how we're seeing Kramer get into the key against our up-court pressure.
Young, Lalande, yes. And so the Canadians again inch back ahead, and again Kramer with the ball. Maritzka Beyer has been fairly quiet so far here for the Dutch. He's being guarded by Steeves. Puts it back for DeRoy. Underneath for Kramer. No. Rebound. Beyer, yes. DeRoy slings it across for Visser.
Yeah, so again, we saw Kramer got the ball on the inbounds against that pressure. Kicked it up court to Beyer, and then we saw DeRoy come over and off-ball pick to get Kramer loose. That's one of the things the Canadians will have to keep an eye on and do a better job switching.
Long two-pointer for Kramer, bounces out. Heard lots of the Canadians talking about the way the Dutch team plays like a team, their chemistry. How does that manifest itself on the court, Mike?
Well, you really see them understand their roles with each other and how valuable it is that their part, whether they score or not, contributes to the team effort. And they give a lot of value to that, and they reinforce that in their game.
And where is the Canadian team on that journey as well?
Canadians made great progress over the last several months under Coach Ducharme's, guidance and leadership. They've really started to come together as a group, but they're young, and so they've got a lot of room to grow. They're making the right steps, that's for sure. Karina
DeRoy often leads the Dutch team in assists for plays like that for Kramer, who misses short, and Cindy Ouellette scoots out with the ball.
So early on, we're seeing the Dutch team get to the rim. They're missing a couple of these shots, but they're getting the looks that they want. They're not being forced to take a lot of outside shots.
Great play. Ouellette finds Lalande, finds the glass and in. Canada's lead is 3.
So that's a really good sign when when the Canadians are getting somebody like Rosalie Lalande to the rim. It means that we're making those complementary reads, attacking backs, and getting the space we need.
DeRoy, Beyer, and you're not going to keep her quiet for too long. Maritzka Beyer, the MVP of last year's World Championships.
Yeah, the Canadians are missing that off-ball pick. They're not seeing behind and how the attack of the back happens in the open court against their pressure.
Aaron Young underneath, Ouellette off the glass and gets the Kawhi Leonard bounce.
So Beyer from the Netherlands turned her back on Ouellette, and Ouellette cut baseline. So another good sign we're attacking backs.
Canadian lead 13-10.
You can't give Cindy Ouellette that kind of space. She's great attacking the basket when she's given the space.
And Visser, usually the distributor, this time off the layup, and the Dutch team back to within a point. Again, Canada gearing up for Pan American Games in Lima later this summer. The Dutch team for the European Championships. Both are qualifiers for Tokyo next year. Ouellette, the long two, no. And rebounded by the Dutch.
And there's that little bit of contact just as she's shooting. Cindy's a great shooter when she gets that bit of space she didn't have at that time.
Underneath the pass for Ilse Arts doesn't work. Ouellette outlets to Young. Gets across the timeline. Canada looking to set up. And Beyer had the interception, but then it went right to Lalande.
So great opportunity for Canada. They had Ouellette and Young playing together on their power side, but you could see the Dutch rotate their defender. And what the Canadians need to do is they need to read where that defender's coming from and then attack off ball. We got caught kind of sitting off ball, and Beyer got a chance to guard two players at the same time and take away and help the defender rotated to stop the Canadian pick and roll.
Young was looking to feed Tamara Steeves. She didn't see the pass, and out come the Dutch. Back on offense. Kramer. Beyer. No. Rebound. Beyer gets a gift and puts it through. Netherlands slightly ahead now. Just under 3 minutes to go, opening quarter. Ouellet and Young. Young looking to set up Tara Lanes. That doesn't work.
One of the things the Dutch do really well is they identify threats and where they help from. And we're going to see the offside elbow defender for the Dutch slide in and help. And that allows their big person to play too. And that'll take, we've got to identify that, and we can't sit offside. We've got to attack.
Shot from Arts misses. Canada rebounds.
Bit of up-court pressure by the Dutch here, something that they don't do a lot of. And I'm kind of surprised because they've got the athletic ability and the speed to do it more.
Young, Lalande, Ouellet, 2 on the shot clock, in it goes.
There's that space. You give Cindy Ouellet that extra couple of inches. Don't bump her on the shot, and she's going to hit that shot every time.
Under 2 minutes to go, opening quarter. Canadians holding on to a slim lead here against the world champions. Bo Kramer. There's a 4.5 on the scale in wheelchair basketball, the highest you can go from 1 to 4.5. Kramer underneath, off the window and in.
So we got mixed up in our switching, and we lost Kramer and didn't identify that threat. We rotated over to a lesser threat. One of our keys, and one of the Canadian keys, is to identify the threats as they're moving around the court and switching positions, so the Canadians can keep their matchups and keep big on big and little on little, fast on fast.
It probably easier said than none, right, Mike? Especially because you said while they're moving.
While they're moving. The Dutch do a great job moving their players around so that it is difficult to track, and you are forced to switch and create mismatches.
Young shot misses, but grabbed by Ouellet and then Lalande, and went off the fingertips of the Dutch players, so Canada gets the ball back with 4 on the shot clock. Steves, Ouellet gets it back. Shot clock runs out on Canada. Down by 1. Inside of a minute to play, opening quarter. Visser underneath. Byer under pressure. No.
I thought Byer had a great opportunity to put that up with her left hand, and you could see she just was hesitant because her right hand was contested. We see that contested shot.
Lalande, Young. Kramer watching her. Back to Lalande. Young. Lanes.
Well, that time we got stuck in 2 high-low games on the wing. We didn't have the space. We got pushed out wide, and we get a low percentage outside shot out of it.
And a nice steal, it looked like, for Canada. Yes. Good hustle by Rosalie Lalande.
Those are the little things that Rosie does that don't show up in the box score. And she's great attacking the ball on defense.
Shot clock is out of play. Ouellet, Lalande from the foul line. No, in and out. One last chance. No, Dutch won't get it. And the Netherlands, after the opening quarter, leads by 1. It is 16-15 for the Netherlands. The Government of Canada is proud to support Canada's wheelchair basketball athletes from playground to podium in their pursuit of sporting excellence. So, Mike, we look back at that opening quarter, fast-paced, it seemed. 1 point lead for the Netherlands. Did it play out the way you thought it might?
So a couple things first. You can see the Dutch, the vast majority of their shots are coming in the paint. So they're getting to the paint. That means the Canadians aren't getting the contact, aren't forcing wide, and aren't identifying threats. Particularly against the up-court pressure the Canadians have used, the Dutch have gotten off-ball picks, and that's got their big players to the basket. The Canadians have got to make some adjustments and do a better job identifying switches and threats in the open court and making contact all through the play. On the other side, the Canadians have certainly scored against the Dutch, but what we're starting to see is from that opening start, where the Canadians were getting to the rim, they're getting to the rim less and settling for outside shots. And the Canadians have got to create the space they need. That'll get them to the rim instead of having to settle for outside shots.
Like you said to me before the game, that Canada should not worry about the score. Don't get distracted by the score. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, it's so important that you stay focused on the process. And the process it's learning the things and practicing the things that they're going to need to qualify in Lima. You know, winning this game today, while everybody wants to win, I want to win. It's not what we're going to remember when we look at Lima. We're going to remember, did we grow in this game and learn how to create space? Did we learn how to identify threats and attack backs? So it's about staying focused on the process and the things that will give us that ultimate goal, a gold medal in Tokyo.
Into the game for Team Canada, Katie Dandeneau and Elodie Tessier, Puissant Lai, and staying in, Tara Lanes and Aaron Young. So second quarter underway. We've got a foul call against Canada.
Looks like Tara Lanes was called for backing in on defense.
Byer for DeRoy. Won't drop.
The Canadians tried to keep matchups a little bit better that time so they could keep big on big. We've still got to talk about some of their switches.
Aaron Young works her way in, off the glass and in, and Canada back out front.
Nice little dribble move on the baseline by Aaron Young. Had the space she needed and then drove past the Dutch player.
She kind of looked like she was going to pass the whole way and sold that. Kramer underneath for Byer with the mismatch, but she's short. But it's the Dutch ball with 12 on the shot clock. It went off the Canadian chair.
So again, we're seeing some up-court pressure. That's great by the Canadians, but they're not seeing the picker coming and making a switch in the open court, and that's what's freeing up those post players for the Dutch and why they're getting to the rim.
Cher Korver into the game for the Netherlands. Her pass is behind DeRoy, but she gathers it in and then tries to sling it across for Visser, but that was way out.
That's an uncharacteristic passing error by the Dutch. They normally really take care of the ball well.
Canadians inbound. 1 point lead, early stages, second quarter. Dandeneau, Tessier, Young, and looked like a pretty nice little pick and, you call that a pick and roll in wheelchair basketball?
Yeah. One of the things, as people are watching at home, watch the Dutch defender if they're extending on that point person for Canada. There's a gap up there that's either a cutting or a picking gap that Canada has to take advantage of offside of wherever the ball attack is. We can't sit behind a screen and just play a high-low, low-high game in two different sides.
Aaron Young in for Lanes. And Team Canada has a 3-point lead.
So that time a little bit more room for Tara Lanes. The pick and roll went farther from the basket. That gave her more time to get her balance and get set as she rolled.
Byer's shot won't fall. Scramble, loose ball picked up by Aaron Young. With Ouellette out of the game, it seems like Young's doing a lot more ball handling, Mike.
Great cross pick by Elodie Tessier. Aaron Young turned the back of the defender. Tessier with the pick.
Dandeneau, Lanes. Dandeneau. 3 on the shot clock. And in it goes for Aaron Young.
So that's one of those trademark shots. Aaron Young, great shooter from outside, and she'll finish at the end of the shot clock and hit some really remarkable shots today.
Tonight's game presented by Wheelchair Basketball Canada with the support of our proud partners, the Government of Canada, Toyota Canada, Grosso Hooper Law, and Sunrise Medical. Wheelchair Basketball Canada's vision is to be the world leader in wheelchair basketball.
So right now in the timeout, the coaches are, Gert van der Linden from the Dutch. It's making some minor adjustments in terms of the personnel that are out there. It's a different lineup with two bigs for Canada. So he's going to make an adjustment in his defense, probably push Canada out a little bit wider and try to maintain their matchups on the wings and create those 2-and-2 high-low, low-high games on either side. On the Canadian side, Coach Dussarme pleased with how they're playing offensively right now, probably commenting about our pressure and pushing the Dutch wide so that they don't get an opportunity to pick off ball and attack off ball the same way.
Karina de Roy quarterbacking things for the Dutch. In for the Yetsko Visser. She was an all-star at the World Championships last year. Underneath for Byer, the pass off her fingertips, and back comes Canada.
And that was that off-ball attack.
Young alone, off the window, and it's a 7-point lead for Canada.
Yeah, great pick by Poussin Lai to get Aaron Young open for that layup.
More pressure by Canada. The Dutch across the timeline. De Roy towards the baseline. Across for Visser. Rattles out. Rebounded by the Netherlands, but the loose ball scooped up by Canada and Elodie Tessier.
Yeah, the Dutch a little bit unsettled right now, missing a couple of their more veteran players in their lineup. A little bit scrambled.
Dandeneau, Young, short, and scooped up by Julia van der Sprung. Welcome all those who might be watching internationally from the Netherlands. Glad to have you along for this webcast. My name is Rob Snook alongside Mike Frogley here at the Pan Am Sports Centre in Toronto. And the Dutch with a shot from the outside that falls. So the Canadian lead is 23-18, 5 points.
So one of the things that makes the Dutch so tough is Visser's ability to hit those outside shots. She can create without the ball by picking and getting their big players into the key, and then she can sit outside, and she's a really efficient scorer. She may not score 20 points, but she's going to hit the shots she needs to when they can't create those interior opportunities.
Aaron Young all the way across. Underneath now for Tessier. She's fouled. There's a nice setup from Tara Lanes.
Yeah, the Dutch players kind of gave Tessier a little bit of space offside of that attack, and Tessier used that space to cut and get open.
Tessier's second falls. Mike, how much do you want your athletes practicing their free throw shooting?
It's like everything else. You have to be a complete player, and I think sometimes players miss the value of free throws, and they don't do it because it's nothing spectacular. But every single one of those possessions counts, every single one of them. If you're going to make the defense pay, you got to hit your free throws.
So it doesn't get neglected when you're the coach, is what you're saying?
No. Nothing gets neglected.
Canadian lead is 7 points, 5:40 to go. Dutch team, remember, bronze medalist at the last Paralympic Games, gold medalist at the last European and World Championships. Visser, de Roy, no, rebounded by Dandeneau, and Canada back on offense. Tessier. And the layup drops.
One of Tessier's strengths is she reads that one-on-none open court break, and then she's as solid as anybody in the world at finishing. those points are important for Canada, getting us to the rim and getting easy buckets against this tough Dutch defense.
Cher Corver slings it across. And the shot put up from Van der Sprung doesn't fall. And the Dutch has beaten Canada the first 3 games of the week. Mike, what is Canada doing differently here, do you think?
Well, I think we've learned from what the Dutch have been doing against us. You can see Canadians are already starting to get to the rim. So they're creating the space and identifying backs and complementary reads to get to the rim and get high-quality shots, not just a couple of times, but through the first, quarter and a half of the game. And that's going to be important that we can consistently do that. And we haven't done that this week. So continuing that on through the course of the game will be one of the things we're going to watch for.
Yetsko Visser in for DeRoy. The hard pass off the fingertips of Van der Sprung. And another error by the Dutch.
Yeah, the Dutch have gotten to the rim a lot, and then this lineup that's out there right now has gotten to the rim a few times through the elbow cuts, but they've turned the ball over, and they can't lose those opportunities by turning the ball over that easily.
Aaron Young, Team Canada, gives it to Tara Lanes. Dandeneau, Tessier, yes!
Love the extra pass by Dandeneau. And the cut by Tessier to get a high-quality shot going to the rim and not settling for the post-up shot at 10 feet.
Tessier with that left-handed shot. And back come the Dutch with Kramer. Foul call on Young. So Bo Kramer, who seemed like she was scoring at will earlier in the game. Canadians tightening things up defensively. Kramer, no. Gets her own rebound. Visser.
And there's Kramer's cut. We gave her a bit of space. We can't continue to let her get into the key like that.
Canadians win back the ball. It looked like they'd lost it. Now Dandeneau. Looking for Young, but Young well guarded on the outside by Freilink.
Yeah, the Dutch are coming out, and they're extending and coming out on our scores. If we create space, the Canadians create space, we'll have opportunities to pick and roll and get to the rim. We just have to work on creating that space a little bit better.
And the shot from DeRoy misses. Van der Sprung from the baseline. Can't get it to fall. Tara Lanes. Dandeneau. Like, it seems like the Canadian team has a fair amount of depth. They can go to their bench. They can trust the players coming off the bench.
Yeah, both teams will play deep today. We'll see 9-10 players at least playing from each of the teams. Both coaches very comfortable with playing the players deeper on their bench and getting them experience for the qualifiers coming up.
DeRoy, too strong. And then Young can't gather in the rebound, so the Dutch will get the ball here with 6. They'll give it back to a 14-second shot clock because of the touch off the fingertips of Young. Canadians with some substitutions. Dutch with some substitutions. Tamara Steeves back in for Canada.
You can see the gaps in the space open up for the Dutch at the elbows, and that's where they like to attack best. Canada's got to identify that and be able to switch and deny the attack through that space.
Mariska Beyer back into the game for the Netherlands, along with Sylvana Van Hayes. And Kramer's shot drops. The Canadian lead, though, is 29-20. Katie Dandeneau. Swings it for Erica Gavel, who's in the game. Her shot rattles in and out.
A good shot by Gavel.
DeRoy, Beyer, Kramer, and one for the Dutch. So Kramer's basket will count. She'll go to the line for the old-fashioned three-point play.
So Canada's got to do a better job in the open court. And what's happening is the Dutch are doing a great job. They're pushing it up the court. They're moving the ball ahead and engaging defenders, but then they're picking off ball. And that's what's freeing up those big players. And really key on the Dutch side, those big players are patient to let their teammates come back and set the picks. They're not rushing into that. The Canadians have to see behind and communicate better so they can get the switches in the open court and take away those pick and rolls.
Sunrise Medical, proud partner of Wheelchair Basketball Canada, a world leader in the development, design, manufacturing, and marketing of manual wheelchairs, power wheelchairs, and both standard and customized seating and positioning systems. Sunrise Medical, proud to help the many Canadians who are living without limits.
On the Canadian side, we're doing a really good job. The Canadians doing a really good job having the complementary crossing read offside the ball, and that's what's getting scoring opportunities going to the rim for the Canadians. And that's something that's been missing earlier this week as the two teams played each other.
So Kramer now has a chance to finish off the three-point play. And can't do it. Dandeneau rebounds for Canada. And we've got a foul off the ball.
Yeah, it was a picking foul. It looks like the Canadian player was just trailing Beyer just a little bit. Didn't quite get ahead with her axle on the caster to control position. Beyer pushed through that and drew the foul. So it's a turnover for the Canadians.
So foul on Tessier. Beyer and Kramer, rather. Kramer cuts into the key. Off balance, sets, fires. No. Rebounded by Tamara Steeves, and back comes Canada. The lead is 7.
Still great patience by Kramer to wait for the pick to be set before she attacked. Just lost her balance a little bit.
Gavel, she's fouled by Ilse Arts. Back into the game for the Dutch All-Star Yetsko Visser. You said to me, Mike, yesterday you think she is one of the top 1.0 players in the world.
Yeah, Visser, great player, very efficient, can do all the different things on the court, and really smart. She's one of the reasons why those Dutch players are getting, the big girls are getting open off ball, because of the pick she's setting in the open court.
Last basket by Katie Dandeneau for Canada.
And there's Visser with a pick for Beyer.
Here come the Dutch underneath and alone, and in it goes for Lindsay Freilink. Final half minute of the opening half. Canadian lead is 7. Shot clock not in play, but the long attempt from Dandeneau is short.
It's a great look by Katie Dandeneau, and she's an outstanding three-point shooter. The Dutch can't leave her open like that. She'll hit those shots.
Kramer tries to filter it underneath. That pass does not work. And at halftime, Team Canada leads the world champion Dutch team 31-24. Mike, what did you like about what Canada did in that first 20 minutes?
So the biggest thing that I saw that the Canadians were doing that they really need to do is they were attacking backs and getting complementary reads. They weren't quite getting low enough, but they were getting the crossing attack off ball of where they were attacking. And that's really key in engaging the Dutch defenders and getting those opportunities going to the rim. And we saw that with cross picks and rolls to the basket by Tessier and Lalande early. So if they can continue to keep that up, I think that'll be really important to getting high-quality shots. They can certainly hit shots from outside, but those are just not at as high a percentage as the ones going to the basket. So that's a really good thing. I think that the Canadians also need to get a little bit lower and wider with their first two people down on offense. That'll begin to open up both the high-low and the crossing game, and that will be tough for the Dutch to stop. And the Dutch might be able to make that adjustment right now, stop that Canadian crossing attack, if we can't get low enough and wide enough. On the other side of the ball, defensively, the pressure up court, I like the pressure up court, try to disrupt the Dutch. The Canadians need to do a better job of switching off ball against those picks to stop the Dutch players from getting in and getting those early easy buckets in transition.
So Team Canada 31, Team Netherlands 24 at the half in this international friendly at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre. Wheelchair Basketball Canada strongly believes in the power of sport to move people toward enhanced health, stronger communities, and improved quality of life. Funds raised are used to enable all Canadians to be active, be included, and be empowered to pursue their own individual excellence. Through your support, more Canadians living with disability will experience the life-changing benefits of wheelchair basketball. Now let's watch Daniel's inspiring story of perseverance, spirit, and determination, and how wheelchair basketball changed his life.
The fact that I lost all my independence when I first broke my back and didn't believe that I'd be able to even live on my own or have a quality of life that's worth living, I gained that all back when I started playing basketball.
Yeah, I loved playing sports before my injury. I was really, really active.
My Danny, he was a very fine young little boy, very happy, very active. And when he was young, he loved to play soccer, but also he loved to run. And he was running and running and never stopped running.
The entire balcony ended up collapsing forwards. Like the railings just like went off their bolts or whatever, and like the entire railing just came down with me falling as well. So I ended up falling 3 stories and sustaining a spinal cord injury at the T10, T11, and also ended up breaking my neck at C7, T1. But physically it was just so new. It was for anyone that like I would talk to, I would explain it like being rebirthed and trying to learn how to live life all over again, because every single thing you think you can do and like the confidence you had in doing something, you completely lose because you've lost your independence.
The doctor there told us he will never be able to walk again, and it was very hard. I think we were in that denial when you don't want to accept, you don't want to agree with what they are telling you.
It kind of came out that he might not ever walk again, and in my mind I was uneducated on paralysis and spinal cord injuries, so I was thinking like, oh yeah, he'll probably be fine. A couple months later it kind of set in, like not just for me but for everyone around the whole school, that it was like he's in a wheelchair now and that's how he's gonna have to live his life. And that's kind of when it hit me, like where I got sad for him, and it was tough.
Basically just at that point, trying to focus all my attention on like my faith and my family, and try to just like overlook the whole disability thing. I want to do that, like this looks sick. And after that day, I just, fell in love with it. My grassroots program was like the catalyst of it all. It was the most important thing in my opinion, because without it, I wouldn't have known the fun that wheelchair basketball is.
I wanted him to be active. I wanted him to go out from the house. I wanted him to find something to like, something to make him wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm not just someone laying in a bed, right?
I took the leap because I was sick of like being bored at home, and I wanted to get competitive again. Like I have that nature in me. I'm a very passionate person. I want to challenge my body, challenge myself, and be successful in athletics. So I ended up getting into wheelchair basketball, and when I saw how competitive it was and how aggressive people are and how they don't even care what disability you are, no matter like what function you have, you're getting it. Like you're getting hit, you're getting contact, you get that camaraderie and that like acceptance. And when you start feeling that, it fuels the fire inside you, and you're like, yeah, like this is what it's about.
I remember Dina, Dan's mom, and Dan showed up at the hospital unit I was in. It was one of the moments where it was solidified in my mind that, you know what, like, life is going to be different now, but I think I'm going to be all right.
I think people who are not getting involved in this, they don't know what they are missing.
For my recovery, wheelchair basketball played like essentially the biggest, if not the second biggest role in my ability to just overcome the disability that I sustained, my injury, because it gave me a new purpose. Before that, I suffered a lot of depression and like didn't have a real desire or motivation to really get up in the morning. When I found wheelchair basketball and saw how much of a tool it could be at not only making me a stronger athlete, but like a stronger character and individual in day-to-day life. This is a great tool not only to like build on all of that, but to help my future, and it has, especially with having the opportunity to be like in a national program, potentially get a scholarship in the future and be able to go to post-secondary school. All these opportunities made me so much more independent and more confident, even though like all of that was stripped from me when I first had my injury. Like I attribute a lot of who I am now and the great confidence that I have to wheelchair basketball.
Words cannot describe how happy I am because I see him happy. Danny has a big place in my heart, and I love him so much, and I'm so proud of him.
To go from the day when you first sat up in the hospital in the intensive care unit and like just trying to hold your puke in and not like throw up from just sitting upright for the first time after your injury, to being able to get someone to be like awestruck by the achievements that you've accomplished through a sport, that's like light years away from what I ever imagined my life would be when I first got up that day in the hospital. So I'm super honored and I feel privileged to be a part of it.
To support incredible athletes like Daniel who are pursuing their Paralympic dreams, visit wheelchairbasketball.ca/donate to donate today.
The Canadian senior men's national basketball team will host Argentina in an exhibition game next week on June 19th at 10 a.m. here at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre. Both countries are in the same pool for the Pan American Games this summer, where they'll compete for a spot in the Tokyo Paralympic Games. This will be your chance for a sneak peek of what's to come this summer.
All right, so that's important for the Canadian team. Obviously, another step for the Canadian men's team. How is their development going as they prepare for Lima and try to qualify for Tokyo next year?
Well, similar to the women's team that's been working this week on certain things and getting a chance to test their process against the best in the world, the men will get a chance to do that. Next week will be even more important because they'll see those teams in Lima. They'll see the Argentinians, and the Argentinians are one of the teams the Canadians have to be able to beat in Lima if they're going to get to Tokyo. So it'll be a great opportunity to test their process, but more importantly, learn about the Argentinians and how they're doing and what Coach Ferrieni from Canada has been working on with the Canadians.
And what has he been working on? What are you seeing? What observations? What developments?
So some big things. One is being more physical on defense. Last year at the World Championships, the Canadians finished 12th, well below what they expected, what they wanted. A big piece of that was on the defensive side. They were the second team in scoring overall in the tournament. Clearly, if you're finishing 12th, there's a problem with the defense. Yeah. So being more physical was really, really important. He's been working a lot on how they maintain their matchups so they don't get mismatches and have big players from other teams shooting over top of our smaller players. And then the last piece he's been working on from a defensive standpoint is the quickness of their rotations defensively, so that they're not slow rotating and giving the other team's top scorers that extra second to get a glimpse at the basket.
Mike, what has this not just this building, but what has this building meant to the wheelchair basketball program in Canada, and just being centralized, and you've been integral to this whole process.
Well, what's been really key, that for a long time in Canada we had a lot of facility problems, not just on the Olympic side, but certainly on the Paralympic side. The construction of this building, a building that's fully accessible, has meant that not only is there a place for high-performance Olympic athletes to train, but Paralympic athletes as well. And there's no real magic, I don't think, to becoming a great Olympic athlete or a Paralympic athlete. It's real simple. It's work harder and work smarter than your competition. This building allows athletes, Paralympic athletes, and we see the ladies out here for Canada who've been training here, they get access to that facility where they get to work more, where they get to work smarter, have access to their national coaching staff, the integrated support team and sports science team that supports them, all those different little pieces, so that they've got a place to work hard and smart. So it's been absolutely critical to have a facility like this where players can get the quality training and the amount that they need. So that's been critical, and we want to see that happen for other Paralympic sports around the country.
All right, Mike, we talked about the keys to victory before the game, and if you were to look back now, how has that gone for Canada? Have they been able to execute what you thought they were going to try to in the GH loss?
So the first thing, creating and controlling space. I think that we could have gotten a little bit lower and wider, but we did get wide enough, and that opened up opportunities for attacking backs and complementary reads. And so what we've seen is a high-low attack on one side and a crossing attack at the same time on the other side. That's what's opened up those cross-picking opportunities, gotten people like Tessier, Lalande, Ouellette to the basket for easy scoring opportunities. We've seen that in the score sheet, in the box score. We're seeing spread-out scoring by the Canadians. It's not all coming from somebody like Aaron Young.
It's
or
hard
Katie
to stop
Dandenault.
a team like that, isn't it?
Really hard to stop
Who's
that.
going to score next?
Absolutely, and that's the key, is spreading out the scoring for Canada. And that's coming because we're getting the wide enough and we're attacking backs and complementary reads. On the other side of it, now what Canada has to do, tighten up their defense in the open court. So that's about making contact, forcing the Dutch wide, and identifying threats. Threats in the open court are cutters and pickers. We have to take that away in the open court, and that'll take some of the Dutch offense away.
We'll see if Canada is able to execute those strategies in the second half. The second half is coming up. Canada and the Netherlands from the Pan Am Sports Centre in Toronto.
This is the all-new Corolla, and these are the people who drive it. They do things. Big things. Small things. It brings people like this to places like this. It's for people who know that how far you go depends on how far you're willing to take it. Life's waiting. Get to it in the all-new Toyota Corolla and Corolla Hybrid. Together, so much more.
Back at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre, international hoops. Tonight, wheelchair basketball between Team Canada and Team Netherlands. Toyota Canada is the proud mobility partner of Wheelchair Basketball Canada. Toyota's partnership with Wheelchair Basketball Canada represents their commitment to mobility and movement for all through vehicles, sport experiences, and more.
So we can see Tara Lanes right now, number 11 for Canada. Buyer from the Dutch, not letting her get low. She's certainly wide enough right now, but she's got to work to get lower.
So we are underway. Aaron Young starts with the ball for Canada. She leads in scoring with 7 points, tries a long three, and it rattles out. The leading scorer for the Dutch in the opening half has the ball now, and that is Kramer. She has 14 points. Now Bayer, and she was held to just 4 in that opening half, so Maritzka Bayer sinks her first bucket of the second half.
Yeah, Tamara Steeves gave her way too much space in the open court, and that made for an easy cut to the basket by Bayer.
Lalande for Canada under pressure from DeRoy. Feeds Ouellette, slings it to Young, puts it up, short, gets her own rebound, and misses that one a little too strong.
Uncharacteristic misses by Young. There's Visser's pick on Cindy Ouellette off ball, and Byer is loose off ball.
Visser, Byer makes no mistake. She matches her first half totals in the first 70 seconds of the second half.
So we have to have one of the Canadian defenders come up and bump that pick and communicate with their teammates so they don't get picked off ball.
Ouellette with the spinner off the glass. Canada's lead is 31-30. Check that, 33-28. We'll get that right. And it is Kramer underneath. And it looks like a foul call on Tara Lanes.
Yeah, much better job by the Canadians defending off ball in the open court. The Canadian defender came up, bumped the Dutch picker Visser, and kept Byer and Visser extended so that Byer couldn't get free.
Well, this Dutch team with all kinds of international gold medal winning pedigree. Canadians trying to stay out front. It's a 5-point lead, Canada. Early stages, second half. DeRoy across for Kramer, underneath for DeRoy, no. And the Dutch are going to get the ball back here.
So again, we're seeing the Dutch getting into the paint for scoring opportunities. Canada's got to make contact with the Dutch defenders and identify threats and communicate better.
Referee's having a little consultation here. Did you catch that, Mike? I didn't catch that.
I'm not sure what. Looks like they're just resetting the shot clock. They're saying no rim on that, so no offensive rebound in 5 seconds on the shot clock. Great catch by the officials.
DeRoy inbounds. Kramer. Yes. And the Canadian lead cut to 3. So all of a sudden, and the Netherlands turns it on here in the opening moments of the second half. Cindy Ouellette, one of the most experienced international players on the floor. In for Young. Lalande. Ouellette. Yes!
There's that space for Cindy Ouellette. The Canadians, though, getting stuck in 2 high-low-low-high games, and they can't live off that in the second half. There's a crossing attack available that they need to use.
Here comes Kramer, being watched by Young. Up top for Arts.
Yeah, off that pass from Kramer to Arts up high, the Canadians turned their back and gave space, and Kramer cut through on the elbow. Those are the kinds of cuts that we've got to take away, the Canadians got to take away with contact.
DeRoy feeds Byer on the no-look, and her first miss of the half.
And the Dutch got a little bit static in their offense that time. They also got stuck in 2 high-low-low-high games on the wings.
Cindy Ouellette really quarterbacking things out there. In for Young. Has a bit of room. Puts it up off the glass, but no. Five-point lead, Canada. Byer just getting to the timeline for DeRoy. Stripped away by Canada and Young. Now Ouellette, and here's a break for the Canadians, and Lalande, nicely done.
That all came from the Canadians starting their defense high at that red line on the court, staying tight and making contact with the Dutch so the Dutch couldn't get the space they wanted.
Carina de Roy led the Dutch in assists last year at the World Championships. Swings it across for Kramer. Gives to Bayer. And again, rattles out. Lalande, Ouellet. Canadian lead is 7, looking to add. Cindy Ouellet. She might have a shot here. Goes underneath. Lalande tries a circus shot before going down.
A little bit of contact there that the officials kind of let go. So the Canadians got that scoring opportunity because of Aaron Young's pick in the open court. And that forced a rotation by the Dutch that left Rosalie Lalande open. Both teams coming out here a little bit more physical.
Netherlands in white, the world champions. Canada in red, finished 5th last year at the Worlds. Here's de Roy driving, then slides it for Arts. Knocked away by Ouellet. Visser now for the Netherlands. Still time on the shot clock. Across for Kramer. Time. And the miss.
And she looked a little rushed on that shot. Like, she's a very purposeful shooter, and she needs a second more to gather herself, and she was forced to rush her shot a little bit.
Cindy Ouellet. A little strategy discussion before picking up the ball. Lanes. Young. Over Kramer. Short. Kramer rebounds. Yetsko Visser for the Netherlands.
And the Canadian screener, Rosalie Lalande, pushed out one extra shooting zone.
De Roy the miss. Young the rebound. And we're at a stalemate here. Canadian leads 7. Back they go on offense. Cher Korver getting ready to come into the game for the Netherlands. Ouellet knocked away. Comes back to Steves. Swings it for Young. Here's the shot. That clock running out. Not a bad attempt by Ouellet, all things considered. Visser. We've got a disadvantage here. Canadian player down. And now the whistle goes. Yeah, Gert Vanderlinden wondering why the whistle.
Yeah, he's not happy right now. He felt that the play should continue while the Canadian player's down.
If you think it's an injury, then it should be called, right?
If you think it's an injury, absolutely, you call it, take care of the player, but that wasn't the case. The officials probably should have just let that play go. The whistle takes away the advantage for the Dutch and lets the Canadian player get back on defense. Always tough, for the officials. One of the things, Kramer pulled the ball back out, and so it looked like she might have been pulling out her attack. That's another reason sometimes the officials make that call if they think the attack's being pulled away.
If you just joined us, Canada leading the Netherlands 37-30 here in this international match. Netherlands in white. Bo Kramer in for Yetsko Visser, and it's knocked away. It'll retain, Dutch will retain the ball. Kramer over top of Dandenot. Nice job by Dandenot.
Yeah, there's some big gaps at the elbows that the Dutch weren't able to take advantage of that last possession.
Lalande for Canada. Cautiously, now gives to Lanes. Spins away from Kramer. Lalande. Dandenot. Lalande, 3 on the shot clock. Up and in for Rosie Lalande.
Getting points from Rosie Lalande is really important for Canada. Most importantly, shots going to the rim, but shots like that, anytime you can add that third scoring threat for Canada, that makes them tough.
Got a foul call here And it might have been on Tamara Steves. Hard to see which fingers the referee's holding up from up here. And the Dutch find their key scorer in this game, Kramer. She can't make it fall. Arts. Corver. Too strong. And Canada's lead is 9 and a chance to add. Just over 2.5 to go. Third quarter, Cindy Ouellette, the veteran player.
Yeah, the Dutch have moved away from the offense that gets them in at the elbows and gets those shots going to the rim, and they're settling for scoring opportunities on the edges of the key.
Lalande, 2 on the shot clock, 1 on the shot clock as Ouellette lobs it up. But again, Canada doesn't mind that badly if they use the whole clock, do they, Mike?
No, but one of the things, and we saw Ouellette there, there's that contact on her chair. She plays best in space. Back up, create space, and then attack from that spot.
Visser underneath for Zena Wimahova. And the Dutch just cannot get on any kind of a roll here. It looked like they might at the start of the half, but Beyer is back on the bench. She had the first 2 buckets and a 3-pointer.
There's that 3-point scoring ability that we mentioned earlier about Katie Dandeneau. You can't give her that space. She missed one earlier, but you can't leave her open. She's a great shooter, and she'll take advantage of that.
Dandeneau playing in her hometown of Toronto. Visser has time, left alone, and she puts it in.
Such an efficient player.
So that stopped a string of buckets for Canada. Their lead, though, is 10 with just over a minute to go, third quarter. Dandeneau, Lalande, Ouellette, Lalande, Dandeneau underneath, Steves off the window, off the rim and in.
So the Dutch have to jump Katie Dandeneau. That opens up those opportunities going to the rim. And Dandeneau, also a great passer, sought Steves to get that ball to her.
Inside of 40 seconds to play. Corver, and it just won't fall. Ouellette rebounds. Cindy Ouellette, eyes in the back of her head, finds Rosie Lalande. Dandeneau. Ouellette. 5 on the shot clock, puts it up, goes to rebound it herself. And the foul called against Ouellette.
Still, that's space for Cindy Ouellette. That's a spot where slowing down, taking that open short jumper is better for her than trying to take something with contact.
Final seconds, third quarter. Dutch looking for an attempt. Corver, Wimahova, Kramer, yes, for 3. And the Dutch are trying to claw their way back in. But after 3 quarters of play, Canada leads 44-35. If you're looking to try wheelchair basketball out for yourself, Hoop Fest is where you want to go. Presented by Toyota Canada. Wheelchair basketball is a great sport if you want to try it for yourself. Hoop Fest, presented by Toyota Canada, Wheelchair Basketball Canada's signature fundraising event. The half-day corporate challenge builds team spirit by providing individuals the opportunity to participate in fun and completely inclusive wheelchair basketball tournament. This year's Hoop Fest is on November the 6th. Visit wheelchairbasketball.ca/donate/hoopfest. I know, lots to remember, for more information and to register a team. Mike?
So great job by the Canadians. Continue to come out and create good scoring opportunities. They're being more physical on the Dutch now and starting to take away some of the Dutch offense.
So here we go, third quarter action. Baier back in the game, the MVP of last year's World Championships. There's number 15 on the jersey for the Dutch.
So the Dutch earlier this week generated a lot of scoring opportunities attacking through the top two elbows on the court, on the key. They haven't done much of that today, particularly in the second half.
Corver and Baier switch, then the pass for Visser. She finds Baier. She's got the height advantage and drops it.
So there we saw that crossing attack, that attack up high by the Dutch, and then the look to cut by Baier, and then the mismatched post up.
Canada's lead is 7. Opening minute, fourth quarter. Lanes with the hoop. Cher Corver, the veteran for the Dutch team. Ouellette catches up. The dish for Visser. Heads towards the baseline. A little bit of a hand in there by Dandenault.
It's great defense in the open court by the Canadians, stopping Baier and the picker.
And Dandenault, one attempt, trying to get the second. She goes down. And no foul on the play.
Still, great look by Dandenault, and every time the Canadians are getting into the key. So a really good indication they're getting the space that they need and attacking backs and seeing complementary reads.
Key to the game, right, Mike?
Absolutely. Here we see that high attack by Baier. She comes up high. Great go under by Dandenault to keep big on big matchups.
Baier's shot misses. Dandenault down in this key now. She laughs about it.
One of the things I love about Dandenault, she is such an aggressive player. Physical, you're going to get everything she's got, every single possession. And that's going to pay off in the long run in every game.
Well, we've just seen that in the last 60 seconds. Down on each end of the floor. Lalande finds Dandenault. Puts it up, puts it in!
Yeah, the Dutch, for whatever reason, slow to jump. And as we've talked about, you can't give Dandenault that space to take that shot. She's going to hit it.
Canadian lead is 11. Corver busting in. Off the glass, no.
It's a great go under read by Canada. Dandenault stayed on Baier, and so the mismatch didn't happen. You make another player from the Dutch team take that shot. Small adjustment by the Canadians there.
Dandenault tries again from the same spot. This time it falls out. Comes Baier. Last year at World Championships, Baier scored 36 points against Canada. It's been a little quieter today. She's got it now underneath. Wimahova puts it in.
That time Baier got free off of Visser's pick in the open court. The Canadians didn't come up, bump that picker, and there's that space. That's what led to that layup.
Canadians slow it down a little bit. Lalande. Ouellette puts it up. Rebounded by Baier.
What's opening up for Canada now are those crossing attacks off ball. Canada's got to see those and not sit outside.
And a jump ball called on a hustle play again by Rosalie Lalande.
So that's aggressive defensive intensity that we mentioned earlier in the game. Rosalie Lalande, great defender, and one of her strengths is her ability to attack the ball.
Dutch coach Geert van der Linden didn't like the call. He thought it should have been a foul on Lalande. Again, the Dutch have beaten Canada in the first 3 games of the week. Here in the featured game, though, Canada up by 9.
Dandino with a great open court pick right now. Let's see if Canada can capitalize on that.
Ouellette swings for Dandino, puts it up, rattles out, rebounded by DeRoy. Rimahova, and now Van Hayes.
Great read by Lanes, understanding that the Dutch player is a single arm amp. There's only one place for the ball to go, and just overplaying that and attacking it.
So Sylvana Van Hayes just getting settled now back in her chair. Into the game for Canada comes Puisan Lai, Steeves, Lalande, Dandino, and Ouellette make up the 5 for Canada. Visser, now DeRoy. A long 2. Won't drop, but the Dutch get the rebound. Now Beyer underneath Van Hayes. No. And a nice rebound by Steeves. Lalande, Ouellette. Nicely done.
Great look up court, perfectly laid pass. Lobbed it right in front of Ouellette so she could catch it, ball body defense, and protect the ball as she went to the basket.
And it looked like we had a timeout call here. But a little confusion at the scorer's table. And looks like we're going to just have substitutions, Mike.
A great play by Dandino. Physical on defense. She did a great job keeping her matchup and going under so that the mismatches didn't occur and the Dutch couldn't take advantage of them. And then she exploited opportunities by creating space and taking advantage of space on offense.
Canadian lead is 11. Just over 6 minutes to go. Kramer has it out of her hands, and we've got Canada getting the ball back here.
Yeah, the Dutch are getting a little bit robotic and methodical here and not always reading what's open that's being given to them. I know that's one of the things that Coach Vanderlinden's been working on with his players.
Aaron Young underneath for Lalande, and the basket's not going to count. And the foul call is on Canada.
Yeah, it looks like it was an offensive foul on a illegal pick.
So Young takes the foul.
.22 for the Dutch, trying to pick off ball.
Beyer, DeRoy. Underneath, Kramer, yes.
Great read by Kramer. The seal wasn't there that would have gotten her open, so she cut instead. Those are the types of reads the Dutch have to make.
Canadians escape the press. Lalande. And that was a foul on DeRoy.
You can see a bit of pressure up court now by the Dutch, being a little bit more aggressive.
Young to inbound for Canada. Swings it for Ouellette. Under 5.5 minutes to go. Canadian lead is 9. Here in the featured game against the world champions from the Netherlands. And rebounded by Canada and slips through the fingertips of Puisan Lai. Back comes the Netherlands. Yetsko Visser. It won't fall. Rebounded by Lalande.
I think Visser wanted to get the ball to Kramer then and hesitated for just a minute.
Lalande, Steves. No, Lalande rebounds for Young, fading, firing. No, just short. Back comes Byer.
Here's that up-court pressure by Canada that helps get the Dutch out of the offense that they want.
Dutch player down on the floor, so whistle goes.
So the refs letting him play until Byer turned and began to pull the attack away. Then they can go ahead and blow that whistle and let the player back in. So smart move by Byer to pull it out and try to get the official to blow the whistle and reset so they can attack with 5 instead of 4.
So DeRoy to inbound for Canada, for the Dutch. Down by 9. Kramer, yes, for 3. And Canada is going to call a timeout here with their lead cut to 6 points.
I was watching the Dutch practice the other day, and Kramer was really consistent in hitting that 3 from straight away. And so that's one of the things the Canadians are going to have to look for, is Kramer's ability to hit that 3-point shot, particularly straight away and especially designed out of their inbounds.
A reminder that the Canadian men's and women's wheelchair basketball teams are gearing up for the 2019 Para-Pan American Games in Lima, Peru, August 24th to the 31st. The Canadian men must place in the top 3, while the women must finish in the top 2 in Lima in order to secure berths to Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. Be sure to follow Team Canada's journey on the road to the Tokyo 2020 Games at wheelchairbasketball.ca and on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Exciting times for Canadian wheelchair basketball around this venue, the Pan American Games Center in Toronto, and around this gym tonight.
So lineup adjustment right now for the Canadians, going with what they call their double bigs. It'll be interesting to see how the Dutch adjust to this and where they bring their help from to stop the bigs for Canada.
Tessier, Dandino. She's going to get her own rebound, 14 on the clock. Inside of 4 minutes to play. Tessier, Canadian lead cut to 6. This is an important possession. And the shot rattles out.
So offside of that attack, the Canadians got caught sitting instead of attacking when they were given the space by the Dutch.
Foul call on Tessier. Non-shooting. Kramer. It's been go-to for the Dutch through much of this game.
Much better jump by Tessier. Good aggressive play on Kramer.
Byer underneath for Kramer. Dandino all over, but she puts it in, and the lead is cut to 4.
It's a great example of Kramer taking the time she has had and not rushing the shot so she can take a quality shot. A lot of young players would shoot quickly in that situation. Nice composure by Kramer.
Tamara Steves, the ball for Canada. 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Steves from the free throw line dishes for Young. 3 on the shot clock, 2 on the shot clock, and it's going to run out against Canada.
So the Dutch coming up much more aggressively, making contact on the chairs. The Canadians sitting a little bit and not reading the backs and attacking with complementary reads to get the space that they needed. And they get pushed wide as a result, and a poor quality offensive possession. That's where sitting off ball, you can't sit, you've got to attack.
Dutch organizing, Canadians steadying for the attack. 4-point lead. Visser puts it up, out, Byer the rebound, comes back to Kramer.
Kramer really trying to look for an opportunity to cut into the key that last possession up high, and it's not there because of Aaron Young's defense.
Dutch retain the ball, though. They've got 10 to work with on the clock again. Kramer spinning, looking, underneath, Visser! No! Rebound, Canada, and a foul call against the Dutch, so a huge stop for Canada.
So we talked about making contact, and the Canadians going out and making contact on Kramer, not letting her have her cuts, not letting her freely move and read on offense, and that put pressure and got the ball in a different spot. So good job making contact by Canada. They got to be aggressive like that throughout, this last part of the game.
Katie Dandeneau finds Aaron Young. Young puts it up, puts it in. It's a 6-point lead for Canada. Under 2 minutes to go.
Again, the Dutch a little bit slow getting out there, and you can't give Aaron Young that window to shoot because she'll hit that shot every time.
Kramer takes it down. She's fouled. She was trying to get the and one, but she will head to the line.
So Kramer had the space she needed to attack. That's where Canada's got to go out, make contact, and then identify threats and get the switch she needs so that, or Steve's needs, so that we can keep big on big and little on little. Now, right now for the Dutch, dead ball points so important. Anytime you're down and can score without taking time off the clock. So earlier in the game, you mentioned the importance of free throws. This is it right here.
Kramer. And she misses both, but gets her own rebound.
Those things drive coaches crazy. You get the 2 misses and then you don't box out and you give up the good look.
The Dutch again rebounding. Again Kramer for the long 2. Yes, finally. Less than 90 seconds to go. Canada's lead cut to 4. Tessier. Steves reaches to gather it in. Steves, Dandeneau. Under 10 on the shot clock. Young over top of Kramer. Short. Rebound is going to come back to Steves. Canada gets a 14-second clock to work with here. Dandeneau, less than a minute to play. Steal for the Dutch. And the foul call against Puissant Lai of Canada. Netherlands ball, 59 seconds left, trailing by 4. Canada looking for a big stop here.
There's that crossing attack by the Dutch up high.
Kramer. Underneath. DeRoy off the window and in. The lead cut to 2.
So that's the crossing attack that occurred all week in the previous games. The Dutch, that's their core of their offense and able to score out of it.
Aaron Young fires for Dandeneau. Young looks, fires, yes, hits it for Canada. 26 seconds left. Timeout call by the Dutch with Canada back up by 4.
So the Dutch again, they got caught slow going out on Young, so she got that open look. But that was a result of a pick that was set that got a teammate into the key and made that Dutch player stay in tight to defend the interior attack first. That gave the space to Young.
Huge bucket for Aaron Young gives Canada a 4-point lead. Wheelchair Basketball Canada's 3rd annual online fundraising auction happening all this week. Bid on incredible items like an Apple 4K TV, an accommodation and attraction pass here in Toronto. Toronto Maple Leafs signed hockey stick, a Team Canada wheelchair basketball jersey. Go to 32auctions.com, WBC 2019 to bid on items until June the 17th.
So right now the Canadians, they just need to play tough defense. They don't need to do anything special. They need to identify the primary threats and make the lesser threats shoot for the Dutch and take away that high attack so the Dutch can't get a quality look. And then right away they've got to understand it's going to be what we'll call a free throw shooting press break. They need to get the ball in the hands of their free throw shooters because the Dutch are going to have to foul right away.
4-point lead, Canada. DeRoy will inbound. Kramer. Across for Visser. Visser takes the shot. No, rebounded by the Netherlands. Bayer is there. It's short underneath. Less than 10 seconds to play. Kramer fades, fires, hits with 6 seconds left. And a timeout call. Canada holding a 2-point lead, 6 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, the Dutch missing a couple of opportunities. And great job by Dandino overplaying Bayer's right hand and making her shoot it with her left hand. The miss, even though they got the offensive rebound, kicked it around and scored, it took time off the clock to score out of that. Kramer, great job being composed and not rushing that shot. Now the Dutch, they're going to have to foul right away. Canada, keep the ball in the hands of your free throw shooters.
Grosso Hooper Law, a Hamilton-based personal injury law firm proud to support women's wheelchair basketball in Canada from grassroots to high performance. Grosso Hooper Law. Well, Mike, this is a lot more exciting than maybe some thought it might be after the Dutch beat Canada in the first 3 games of the week.
Yeah, the Dutch were really consistent early on. Tonight, they've struggled to score in attacking up high, which is what they've done all week. Canada's done a great job taking away the attacks at the elbows for the Dutch.
Canada has the ball. Dutch looking to foul. They do, but with 2 seconds left. So Canada did a nice job here, killing off 4 seconds.
Yeah, Katie Dandino doing a good job pulling away from the Dutch players and not just simply sitting there so that she could burn a couple of seconds off. Same thing again, she does it again.
And that's going to do it. Team Canada pulls off a bit of a shocker with a win over the world champions, 54-52. Canada beats the Netherlands.
Yeah, great job by the Canadians. So key things that they had to do in the game, get the space wide enough and deep enough. They got it wide enough, and early on especially, we saw those crossing attacks. That's attacking backs and complementary reads that got more scoring opportunities going to the rim. On the other end, the defense really came up big today. Did a great job putting pressure up court, disrupting the Dutch, but then also taking away that high attack that has been the signature of the Dutch in the previous 3 games this week. And that made the Dutch struggle to get to the rim in the second half. And that was key to holding the Dutch to 52 points. Anytime you can hold a team to less than 55 points in an international game, you've got an excellent chance to win. Both teams today doing a great job.
Canada spreading around the scoring on the offense. That last bucket by Aaron Young proves to be the winner. They hold on to win 54-52 over the Netherlands. So you've seen lots of improvement, it sounds like, Mike, this week, and there's more steps for Team Canada as they head towards Lima and then hopefully head towards Tokyo.
Yeah, the win's great. It's a great motivator for the ladies today, but more importantly, it's looking at the process they're going through, looking at the gains they made today from the previous 3 games, and that's where they've got to look, and they've got to build off that tomorrow when they get back in the gym, practice again, and play the Dutch again in a 5th game. They've got to continue to make those games become more consistent. Things for them to work on, wider and deeper. Continue to get a consistent crossing attack by attacking backs and seeing the complementary reads. Defensively, they saw the weakness in their pressure up court. It's being able to come up, bump pickers, and see the picks off ball. So they want to grow in that way for the games in the future. So their full court pressure could be as strong as their half court game.
Mike, this has been a lot of fun.
Yes,
Thank you very much. I've learned a lot from you. Don't forget, we'll be bringing you more coverage of Canadian wheelchair basketball. We hope you'll join us next week when the Canadian men's team takes on Argentina. That game is June the 19th at 10 a.m. That's Thursday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Next Thursday.
You can follow Wheelchair Basketball Canada online and follow the Canadian men's and women's journey on the road to the Lima 2019 Para-Pan Am Games and through to the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. On behalf of Mike Frogley for Wheelchair Basketball Canada and Sports Canada TV, we've got a special little video coming up for you shortly, but we will sign off for now from the Pan Am Sports Center. For Mike Frogley, I'm Rob Snook. So long for now from Toronto. See you next week.
Oh, Tara, by far. I mean, she's staying with me right now. She takes forever.
There's a good chance that it could be me.
I was just talking to her about this last night. I was just making fun of her for how long she takes when she showers. She literally takes, like, her whole process is like over an hour.
Melanie loves looking good on and off the court, so I'd say she probably takes the longest time.
Maybe Melanie?
Melanie. I would say Melanie.
I would say Erin. She needs an hour and a half to get ready.
Rosalie.
Out of living with her for a long time, it's probably going to be Rosie. She has like 17 alarms in the morning, and then she slowly gets up after like the 6th one, and then I think she lays in bed for a long time.
The rumor is false. Totally false. It takes me 15 minutes to get ready every morning. It takes me longer to get up the bed, but the rumor is false.
I can hypnotize chickens, which is pretty random.
I have crazy hair all the time, if that counts as a secret talent.
You kind of gently put the chicken's beak down, and then you kind of just really slowly do this, and you go out to the side, go out to the other side, go out to the middle, and then voila, they should be hypnotized.
I also play on the national team for the women's sledge hockey team, so yeah, when I'm not doing basketball, I'm doing sledge hockey.
When I was younger, I used to play chess, and I went to chess provincials. I won a bronze medal playing chess.
Cindy the Hornet.
The Terminator. It's Rosie.
I mean, my nickname Halo's pretty good, but I think Juice takes that one.
Juice. Erin Young. I wasn't around at the time, but I hear that it was a tight game, and Juice took out a juice box and drank it at halftime or whatever, and she ended up, I think, dropping like 30 points or something that game. So from then on, she is forever Juice.
Oh, for sure, me. I love my nickname.
Oh, chocolate.
Aero Bar.
That's a tough one. I like to go on vacations.
Me and my friend got really into watching the show Degrassi.
I watch Netflix quite a bit. I'm more watching Grey's Anatomy right now.
Netflix. I can watch Netflix all day. It is the best.
Shredded wheat's good. Cinnamon Toast Crunch on a really bad day.
Any kind of chicken wings. I love the taste of spicy food, but I just can't seem to handle the heat, but I'll try any kind of chicken wing sauce.
Candy.
I like watching the men's practice and just make fun of them.